In my experience, the first time you think you know what the Aquabats are, you are mostly wrong in your assumption. Or at least a little inaccurate. It's not totally uncalled for, to be honest. Since their inception, the band of musical superheroes has maintained a cultivated image that looks right at home on a Saturday morning TV block. So when someone in the 2010s saw the Aquabats Super Show on the Hub Network, they couldn't be blamed for assuming that's where they started. That's why it's so much fun to see how people react to how much deeper it goes.
4 years ago, a band crawled its way out of their own floor and into the bathroom we know now as America.
Not only are the Aquabats a band that's been going strong for over 2 decades, but the show you saw commercials for in between episodes of My Little Pony was actually the band's 4th attempt at TV, with a series of proposed shows that came so close to making it that 2 of them only folded through the interference of the Mad Titan Mickey Mouse himself.
We can make you guys really big stars.
We want to stay focused on the TV shows in this video, so I'll water down the history overview to get to the real meat. In 1994, the Aquabats formed as a ska band with a unique superhero theme. They released their first album, Return of the Aquabats, 2 years later, and found mainstream success with their next album, 1997's Fury of the Aquabats. The next few years aren't super important right now, but they released a couple more albums, switched from ska to a more broad rock-punk genre, and rotated a few performers until 2012, when the band's current lineup got 2 or 3 seasons of televised glory in the form of the Aquabats Super Show. Then the network that the show was on got shut down and merged into Discovery Family, the Super Show didn't get renewed, and the band went on hiatus from producing new content aside from a couple fun YouTube vlogs. Then, after that, a successful Kickstarter gave the Aquabats the means to produce a bunch of new content. So, them's the basics. The Aquabats are a band of musical superheroes, who after years of albums and concerts, made a TV show. They've always maintained a cult following for their unique flavor. Like, shout out to this line from an article about the production of Super Show from OCR, published in 2012. It's easy to see the closeness of the bonds between the Aquabats, forged from 15 years or so of playing no-frills shows in mostly smaller venues. No frills? This band? Also, there was that one time in the 90s when they got busted for selling live tarantulas at their concerts without a license. So, as we take a stroll through the path of Aquabanian history, keep this sort of energy in mind.
3, 2, 1.
It's 1998. Fury of the Aquabats is doing well, and the band has produced their first music video. Directed by American comedian Bobcat Goldthwait, Super Rad's campy, tokusatsu meets Adam West Batman style is a perfect fit for the tone already set by the band in their music and performances. An LA Times concert description from early in the year makes note of the signature villain fights that would take place between songs, naming Tarantula, Powdered Milkman, and Silver Skull as foes. The show description also mentions that the masked band of funny comic book heroes might just as well be starring on some Saturday morning kids show. Turns out they weren't that far from the truth, as just a few months prior, the same newspaper published an article that dropped the tiny detail that a TV pilot was in production.
A plan is hatched to trick some studio executives into turning the Aquabats into a television show. The band signs a deal with owned television to produce a mini-pilot based on the epic adventures of a rock and roll band of masked vigilantes.
I'm gonna save us all!
With Goldwait already on their side from directing the Super Rad video, the Aquabats' new TV pilot secured him as director, co-writer, and executive producer. Not only did they have a relatively big name heading the creative team, but the company producing the pilot wasn't exactly a small studio. The mini-pilot for the show, titled simply The Aquabats, was created under contract with Walt Disney's own Buena Vista TV. What could go wrong?
The mini-pilot sucks. No one wants it, not even the Aquabats.
It's hard to tell exactly what went wrong by watching the pilot. This is because it's hard to watch the pilot, and in more ways than one. While those who worked on the short describe it unflatteringly, it has never seen a real public release. The only known screening for those outside of production took place at Cadet Summit 1998, a once-yearly fan community event held by the band. The best source for why the mini-pilot failed comes from inside the production team. Parker Jacobs was the creative producer for the short, and is also known by his character in the Bats lore, Professor Monty Corndog. In 2017, he discussed his role in making the pilot happen, and shed some light on the issues faced in production. As stated on his Instagram, one thing was about too many cooks in the kitchen spoiling the broth. Disney had a grip of useless executives involved, and we had our own team of people with ideas. The thing is, someone at Disney suggested we should use this state-of-the-art technology so the Aquabats show could literally take place in one of my drawings. Parker's art had always been a part of the Aquabats, down to designing the little bat character who serves as their logo. Using his illustrations could give the show a one-of-a-kind look that could help it stand out. That's just the trouble. The Aquabats didn't need any help standing out, and throwing a variable like this in there just muddied their existing skills.
It is toxic waste!
Save him!
The Aquabats now needed to film against a blue screen instead of interacting with tangible sets and props, removing one of the biggest strengths their music video had shown off. Super Rad had so many memorable moments of physical comedy, and those moments work because of how the performers interact with the world around them. When they don't even have a physical world around them, you're liable to lose that. You lose the tangible weight of seeing a guitarist walk off a ledge. Over a decade later, it was this attitude towards doing their own crazy, stupid stunts that got the Super Show an Emmy. No regard for safety. MCU could never. Parker's illustrations, like the undersea lab he created here, work very well as illustrations, but making them into an environment you can get multiple angles of is a bit of a task. Blue's Clues, for example, did this well by building the show around the visual style, creating something easy on the eye and the mind so that Steve, Joe, and in the new series, Josh, don't clash with the world around them. The Aquabats did not have the luxury of that much visual development. Again, from Parker's Instagram, I recall late nights working with this 3D team drawing every scene in the pilot. Though flattered, I feel this was one of the fatal elements that made the pilot so hard to watch. In conclusion, Disney made them change elements that had made them distinct in an effort to make them distinct, just in the way that Disney wanted. And when Disney's ideas proved to be bad, they put the mini-pilot in a biohazard container in the way back of the Disney vault, next to all those misprinted VHS copies of The Rescuers, and the guy who stole Buzzy from Cranium Command. As such, 1998's The Aquabats by Buena Vista TV is classified as lost media.
Wacky, wacky world of the Aquabats!
The Aquabats' first TV attempt may not have panned out, but our heroes took it all in stride.
The big cheers over over there sent me. I brought you. Hold on. Whoa, this could be our big break. Wait a minute, Commander.
That makes sense.
At the bottom of the contract, it says they pay us in Disney dollars.
The Disney pilot's failure was proof that if they wanted to show what the Aquabats did best, it would be by showing the strengths they knew they had, not what the suits thought their pilot should look like. Last time, their music video had been a better demonstration of the Aquabats' style than the mini-episode they'd been commissioned to do. If a music video budget could capture that spirit, why not make the most of it? Just as Fury of the Aquabats had gotten the Super Red video produced to promote it, Golden Voice Records was willing to work with the band to provide a music video for their next album, The Aquabats vs. the Floating Eye of Death. While this album is celebrated by fans for its unique sound, varied styles, and the introduction of iconic new enemies, Floating Eye had a few quirks that didn't make the record label very happy. Where was the iconic ska sound? Why were all these songs so weird? And moreover, where was the next Super Rad? Without a standout single, what was the band going to do with that music video money?
1999. The Aquabats, barely clinging onto a career, face an uphill challenge and release their third album, The Aquabats vs. the Floating Eye of Death. They use a music video budget to concept out and execute a much stronger pilot for television, The Aquabats in Color.
Surprise! There was no music video. You were deceived! The Aquabats in Color was a proof-of-concept pilot directed by Christian Jacobs, also known as the Bat Commander, and his cousin, Scott Schultz, known in the Aquabats universe as DJ Sea Ghost.
Professor Monty Corndog and his trusty sidekick robot hard at work on a top-secret project. But wait, what's this? Trouble at the lab? A missing scientist nowhere to be found? Two monkeys in a cage held hostage? Will the professor escape? Can the Aquabats save him from these masked marauders? Hold on, kids. This could get hairy.
In a clever move, In Color teases the potential series the same way that an existing TV show might pull in potential viewers. The pilot begins with an episode teaser before the theme song kicks in, the instrumental version of Sequence Erase, the first track off their new album. The viewer is tempted by enemies, fight scenes, Japanese tokusatsu stock footage, the promise of guest stars, and then... Oh, you wanted to see the show? You think this opening sequence looks promising? Guess you'll have to fund it, won't you? In fact, just to drive that in, we're going to close with a next time segment and more action in the closing credits. How's that for an enticing preview?
It's funny because it was like when reality TV took over. And so we would go play that to broadcasters, or we'd take it to networks, and they'd be like, what about a reality version of this? Like, what if you, and like, no, this is hyper reality. We want to do the anti-reality show, like Ultraman meets Batman meets Devo and the Power Rangers, and they wanted us to do like a confessional booth.
However, things weren't looking great for Golden Voice Records. And by not looking great, I mean the company went bankrupt and was only saved by a corporate buyout a couple years later. Now we only know them for starting Coachella.
The record label goes under, and the Aquabats are broke.
But in the Aquabats' greatest hour of need, a mighty hero came to their aid. Let's talk about Fox Kids and Fox Family Worldwide. The Fox Kids branding was born from a deal between the Fox Broadcasting Corporation and Saban Entertainment, a company best known for importing and localizing Japanese media. And hey, would you look at that? In Color takes heavy inspiration and some stock footage from tokusatsu. Okay, if you've been thrown off by me using that word, it's a catch-all for Japanese action shows, of both the film and television variety. They have a big emphasis on flashy fight scenes and practical effects, which is exclusively what In Color is. The commander has gone on record with the pilot's Asian cinema inspiration, calling it Shaw Brothers meets Ultraman. In fact, if you watched this and thought, hey, this reminds me of Power Rangers, that's probably what Saban was thinking, since the Power Rangers franchise was their big moneymaker.
Hey, my name is Jason. I'm the original Red Ranger. My real name is Austin St. John. And Fox Kids and I are going to dust off some really great videotape you've never seen.
See, series such as Power Rangers were created by using footage from the Japanese Super Sentai series for all the costumed action sequences, and filming American actors for everything else, thus creating an original narrative through the magic of editing. And now, they had a team of goofy musicians who were not only willing to kick monster butts, but were led by an enormous tokusatsu fanboy. It was the perfect match.
We came across this wacky band that really combined music and action and the kind of weird humor that kids love. We're developing it into a series, and we want to introduce it to you right now today. Please welcome the Aquabats!
The show was officially announced at the 2000 Fox Family Upfront, a business expo meant to promote the coming year's programming. The Aquabats played for the press, surrounded by beloved shows like Digimon, Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue, Angela Anaconda. Whoa, they had a full-sized Angela Anaconda mascot suit? Huh. You know, seeing it in the same room as a Digimon character gives me some anxiety. But yeah, Fox Family Worldwide signed them on, and pre-production soon began on what was bound to be a beautiful Oh no. Oh no.
He buys out channel. The Aquabats television show has shown the door. Limp Bizkit is the biggest band in America. The Aquabats enter a very dark period.
Gee, I guess stomping on the Aquabats was just one of Michael Eisner's hobbies, huh? Just when all the odds were in the Aquabats' favor, here comes Mickey Mouse, buying up the company and halting development of In Color. Another opportunity lost to the Disney Vault. It seems that perhaps the cards were stacked against our heroes ever coming to television. Hold that thought for just a moment. It's time for a little surprise diversion. It's time for the Gabba Interlude. Yeah, here's a plot twist a couple of you may have seen coming. I didn't mention it earlier, but the Super Show wasn't the Aquabats' first time on national television. And no, I'm not counting the local networks they got appearances on in the 90s.
Aquabats live and direct here from the Weenie Roast, where you can see before us, the VIP area. We're in stealth mode, ready to infiltrate. Aquabats ready? Stealth mode. On this very special episode of ROV, we'll show you kids at home how you can help fight toxic waste in our oceans and beaches. But first, while Nacho is saving Crash McLarson from the toxic chemicals in his system, how about a rock video?
Given that the Hub Network was a premium cable channel, it's arguable that the Super Show isn't the program that let the Aquabats weasel their way into the mass public consciousness. That honor goes to the wildly successful 2007 Nick Jr. show, Yo Gabba Gabba, which featured the band, as well as past members, as frequent special guests.
Prince, take over. As usual, when things go wrong at an Aquabats show, I'm brought out here in the front to play you a couple songs. Do you like hearing songs from the Aquabats? Yay!
name is Adam, and I have a real cool trick.
In fact, the Aquabats are tied pretty closely into the history of Yo Gabba Gabba because they created it. No joke, the show was the brainchild of Scott and Christian, Sea Ghost and the Bat Commander. There's a lot more I could go into, like how the designs of the main characters are derived from monsters the Aquabats would fight, and how sketchy contracts with the licensor resulted in Jacobs not getting a cent from the property in years, but I feel like that could wait for another video. For now, here's what matters. The Aquabats were now back in the public eye. They had experience and connections with family-friendly television. And Jacobs now knew he could create a show that people would enjoy. Oh yeah, it's time for part 3.
We're the Aquabats and that's that, so watch us every week for the Aquabats.
By 2008, things were looking pretty good for the Aquabats. Not only had their mild-mannered alter egos captured the attention of families and confused college students everywhere with Yo Gabba Gabba,
but the best part of Coachella was all the new friends I made.
Do me a favor, would you hold my foot?
This is gross!
but their newfound experience and confidence drove them to finally give this Aquabats TV thing another try.
We're the Aquabats!
Well, we've been playing the Comic-Con weekend every weekend since Comic-Con has been around, which is actually 30 weekends. Over 30 years we've been playing shows. Not necessarily in San Diego, but we've been playing every weekend.
It was amazing. We saw a couple stormtroopers, and we ended up on a yacht with Stan Lee. So, I mean...
That happens to me. Why wouldn't you?
I know. I mean, it's Comic-Con. Miracles do happen.
That's right. That's right. A yacht with Stan Lee.
I'm not even joking.
What was I doing?
At that year's San Diego Comic-Con, with the accolades of From the People Who Brought You Yo Gabba Gabba, the Aquabats unveiled their newest creation, the result of years of trial and error in the television industry. A concept for a show so super that it had to be part of the name. And while it had a lot in common with the pilots and projects of the past, there was one vital element that made it unlike anything they had ever done.
Calling all kids who wanna go and save the world with rock and roll.
In order to find someone willing to pick up the Aquabat Super Show, they had to get a foot in as many doors as possible. Not everybody was willing to look at a superhero action show that wasn't animated. As such, the pilot was structured through the framing device of the Aquabats showing off both halves of the pilot at a concert.
Thank you, homies! Let's watch TV!
The first portion showed off the classic elements that had made their past attempts nearly succeed, while showing off the characters and their strengths. And a giant monster tortilla. The second portion, however, was something the Aquabats hadn't done before, something they believed might just be what they needed.
Look! It's a cartoon!
The animated portion was drawn in an anime style designed by Pei, a Japanese artist who had been collaborating with the Bats for a few years by that point. Blending anime and Western animation styles wasn't exactly uncommon for the time. This double-edged pilot was the Aquabats' way of appealing to as many networks as they could. If someone liked the live-action segment, they'd do a live-action show, just as they had been planning. But if someone showed interest in the cartoon, they would focus their resources into an animated show. As luck would have it, one of the decade's major players in children's programming took notice of the pilot. Which half did they favor? Well, the interested party was a little Turner Broadcasting subsidiary called Cartoon Network, so that should give you an idea. According to Christian Jacobs, when he was showcasing the pilot to different networks, the consensus was, "We love the idea for the show, but we hate live action." Maybe if you have 30 seconds of live action per episode, then we'd think about it. Weighing their options, the Aquabats decided that if this was how this got on TV, they were willing to sacrifice their ambitions to become an American tokusatsu. When Cartoon Network came to them with an offer to produce 22 episodes of the Super Show as an animated series, they were more than happy to oblige. They'd done it. The Aquabats were going to be on the same channel as Batman. Then, things at Cartoon Network got real.
Real kids doing real stuff in real situations.
With a little bit of executive turnover, Cartoon Network was prepared to move in a bold new direction, launching their tween-marketed CN Reel programming block in June of 2009. This block featured shows such as the Mythbusters-styled Dude, What Would Happen?, in which tweens would carry out wild experiments.
We're gonna blow some stuff up!
And Brain Rush, a game show in which unexpected contestants could win cash prizes by answering trivia questions, while on roller coasters. Think the kind of stuff you'd see on MTV in 2009, but made for 12-year-olds and starring 14-year-olds.
Wednesday nights, CN Reel, only on Cartoon Network.
We want to become a dominant youth culture brand. We are going to break out of the over-sanitized kids environment, and that's okay. Stu Snyder, the rising president of said division, compared his plans for the network's future to a kid starting puberty whose voice is just starting to change. Not the most flattering comparison, but they were his words. Rather than being content to keep attracting new kids, Cartoon Network wanted to grow up with their existing audience, and that meant throwing out the toys that the cool, unsanitized middle school crowd wouldn't want to play with. The executives who signed the Aquabats contract were no longer with the company, and the deal was off. But it's hard to keep a good bat down.
2010, a newer, better network is born. Hasbro and Discovery Channel have a baby. They call it The Hub. Veteran executive Margaret Lesh and young Beastmaster executive Ted Biaselli, using superhuman mind beams, realize the immense potential of this band of heroes that just won't die. The Hub orders 13 episodes of the Aquabats Super Show.
One of the first people we pitched Yo Gabba Gabba to was Disney. And one of the executives at Disney was a junior executive at the time, Ted Biaselli. He's over at Netflix now. He loved Yo Gabba Gabba, and he brought us in, and we met with all the bigwigs. The bigwigs said, you know, this is a cute show, but it's just not Disney. It's not us. And this executive that brought us in, he was crushed. And so later, a couple years later, he calls us up and says, hey, it's Ted, and I'm over here at a new network called The Hub, and we can do whatever we want. I want you to bring in another show. Bring whatever you got. And we brought him in the Aquabats, and he was like, this is amazing. Let's do it.
It was agreed that the show would follow the Aquabats' original plan of a live-action show, highlighting their strengths and their passion for stunts and practical effects. Their work with Cartoon Network had made the Aquabats grow attached to the idea of animated segments, so animated shorts were integrated through commercial bumpers and the It's a Cartoon segments. Heck, they even kept the crazy guest stars teased in the In Color pilot. Sure, we never got Manson as the Tooth Fairy, but we got the frontman of Devo, Mark Mothersbaugh, as an apple-farming mad scientist.
Do what you were made to do. Go save the world.
Napoleon Dynamite as a villainous Birdman.
Eagle Claw!
A chunk of MCR as the Anti-Bats. And Strong Bad as Strong Bad with a hat.
Magic! Tell your friends! Hooray! Woo, Cobra Man!
It did only air new episodes for a couple years, and the network did go under, but the show left a lasting legacy. A massive growth in the fan base, momentum to continue as an ongoing web series starting in 2019, new albums, and most of all, guys, the Aquabats were on TV.
Super guys with the Aquabats, join a journey to battle the foes. Watch us every week on the TV show.